Hello everyone, I am back today with a Twerk It Thursday video, and these are our two inspiration pieces for the week. And for Twerk It Thursday we use a sketch, and this is the sketch that me and Nicole decided that we were going to use. So you will have two videos this time, so make sure you check out both of them on the channel today. And I'm going to be using the Worn Lipstick and the Bundled Sage Distress Ink, and then I just showed you the size punch that I'm using. And first I'm going to gesso the background piece of paper with this clear Liquitex gesso, and I'm just going to shake that up and then apply that all over the page because I am going to be using that distress ink on the page, and I didn't want it to soak in too much. And I just use my palette and I've scraped it all over, and any excess I just put back in the bottle. So once I do that and I clean off my spatula, I am going to dry up the page. And this is a really thin white paper. I actually didn't realize how thin it was until I actually put the gesso on it. So I'm really glad that I actually used the gesso. But it does cause me a bit of grief as I go along with the layout because it is a little warped and such. So I'm going to just trim off some of the edges here and then add it to a background piece of paper. And while I'm doing that, I just wanted to let you guys know that we are using the same sketch like I had mentioned. Nicole has the sketch also on her video today, so it is a two-fer day where you get to see both of our videos. If you need to check my channel out ever, you can look at the description box below, and it has a link to my channel and some of my other things. And then also, if you want to play along with us this week, you can by looking at the links at the bottom as well. So if you want to try to make some pages that go with the sketch, or if you really like the inspiration piece for the week, you definitely are welcome to join us on the Facebook page and show us what you got to do and what layouts you've made. We love seeing that, and it's fun to see all the different sketches and things like that, or different layouts we can get from the different sketches. So I'm always excited to see what people are creating. So here I'm just using this gouache. It is kind of like an acrylic consistency, but it is a watercolor. So I just smushed down some of that Worn Lipstick Distress ink, put a little bit of that gouache down just to make it more of a creamy consistency instead of such a translucent consistency. Added some water, and then I just mixed it all up and then smushed it down on my page. And then I'm going to dry up some of the excess just with a paper towel, and then I'm going to dry it overall with my heat tool. And in a second here, you're going to see that I'm going to also smush down some of that bundled, before I do that, I did some splattering with my paintbrush. But here I'm going to use some of the Bundled Sage Distress ink, and I really don't like how it turned out, so I kind of wipe it up pretty quickly. It does pull up some of the pink, but a lot of this background is going to be covered by the circles that I'm going to punch out later, so it ends up being okay, but I just didn't really like how the green turned out. It made it look more muddy than green, so it just wasn't what I was looking for. So as I showed at the very beginning of the video, we had some inspiration pieces. They're really, really, really pretty. And what I took from the inspiration piece mostly is some of the blues, a little hint of the yellows, but mostly the idea of outdoors. The quilt that is in the inspiration piece has a lot of outdoorsy looking patterns and things like that with the deer head and some other things. And that just reminded me of these pictures of me and my daughter last year, or the beginning of this past year, playing in the snow. So I thought these pictures were perfect for that layout and the inspiration piece. So now what I'm doing is I just punched out a whole bunch of circles with my circle punch, and I spared you watching me. But I'm using this Dear Lizzy paper pack that I have and some Dear Lizzy embellishments. So it's all from the same collection. And I can't remember the collection off the top of my head. It is a bit of an older one, maybe Fifth and Frolic. I could be wrong about that one. I'm not quite sure which Dear Lizzy one it is, but it is a Dear Lizzy collection pack. So I'm just using this black and white stripe, and I'm going to mount the two photos that I'm doing right now just on the one, and then the picture of me and my daughter I'm actually going to mount twice. Once on a pink piece and then once on that black and white stripes, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm just going to glue that down, and I'm just trimming this out with my scissors. A lot of times I'll use my trimmer, but this time I just felt like using my scissors. It's pretty thin matte, so you really can't tell. Oh, no, I lied. I thought it was the stripe paper, but I actually decided on this triangle paper. And so I kind of wanted to put it someplace where there really wasn't any of the yellow. I was trying to keep the yellow mostly off the page because I was really trying to stay with the blues and the greens. You are going to see a little bit of yellow from this background border here, but it's pretty much going to stay to the blues and the pinks and the whites. So here I'm just putting a strip down to kind of anchor my strip of photos down, just kind of like the sketch looks like. And then I thought it needed a little bit more. It was a little too much pink. So I'm taking this excess piece of this kind of aqua color paper. I'm going to trim it in half here, and then I'm going to put it at the top and the bottom of my pink strip, just to kind of anchor it down, give some more of the blue color, just because I didn't want the page to be overwhelmed too much by the pink. The pink really isn't in the inspiration colors, but because it is so prominent in my daughter's coat, I thought it was appropriate to add that. And then this Dear Lizzie collection was a perfect collection for that because it had just the perfect colors. So now I'm thinking, and what I want to do is put a little bit of this clear gesso on this strip because I want to also put some ink down on it. I thought just it looked a little bit too plain. I wanted to give it a little bit more dimension. You're going to see once I put the ink down, it doesn't make too much of a difference. You really can't see it too much. But you know, I want to try it. It didn't show up as much as I thought it might, but it's okay. That's not a problem. But I'm just going to do the same technique. I'm going to put that gouache, which is the white color, spray my mist, or just a water bottle with my water in it on the distress ink, and then I'm splattering a little bit. I'm going to smush this ink down. You see the pink on the little blue part of the strip, but you really don't see it too much on this pink strip. But that, again, that's okay. I thought it was going to show up just a little bit darker than it did, but it may have looked a little bit more pink if I didn't put that clear gesso on first, because the clear gesso doesn't allow the ink to soak into the paper as much, so that's most likely why it's not as bright. And then I'm going to put a ton of adhesive on here. You're going to see me add some more actually with this clear texture, clear gesso. It has kind of a grit to it, so if you don't use enough adhesive, the paper really just doesn't stick very well. And what I probably should have done is add some liquid glue, but what I end up doing is just adding a bit more of my Scotch HEG gun on the back instead. So there you go. I'm just putting a little bit more down. The strip wasn't exactly where I wanted it. It was a little bit too close to the bottom, so I'm messing with it just a bit until I get just the way I want. And then I'm going to try to decide, do I want my pictures kind of haphazard, kind of crookedy looking, or if I want them straight? And then in the end, I'm just going to go with straight. I couldn't decide how I wanted them to be crooked, so I figured, well, I'll just make them straight, and that's easy. So the two on the far ends is just going to be down with my ATG gun, and then I'm going to pop up that picture of me and my daughter in the middle with some pop dots, and my kitty's visiting, and he'll get off in a second, or I'll actually take him off in a second. And then I think a little bit later on, my other kitty visits. I had a lot of visitors today. So here I'm just taking the backing off of that adhesive, and sometimes it's easier to use this pokey tool than use your fingers. They're so staticky that they usually stick all over me, so I like using the pokey tool. It kind of gets it off without having all those little circles all over the place and stick into my hands. So that's about where it's going to go, and I'm going to push it down. And now I'm going to work on those circles that I punched out. So you can see I have a whole bunch of different colors here from the different pattern paper, and I'm just kind of going with what the sketch shows. I can't remember the sketch has 3 or 4 or how many rows of dots it actually has, but I liked the number 4. It seemed like a good amount, so I just placed those all over the page, and then I'm gluing them down, and I kind of spared you guys watching me do all that activity, because it was just, you know, putting them down, moving them around a couple places just to make sure I like them, and then once I like them, I glued them down. And since I have the circles going off the edge, I'm just trimming them off with my Tim Holtz scissors here. I love those scissors. I highly recommend them. They leave a little bit of a kind of, not a rough edge, but kind of a serrated edge a bit, but I think they just cut marvelously straight, and they cut just so well. It's like cutting butter. So here are some wood veneers from that Dear Lizzie collection, and in the sketch the title is kind of over to the upper right where the love is, but just shifted over to the right a bit. But I decided that I just didn't really like how that looked. The love was just too big, and I wanted something a little smaller, and I really liked how that fun looked there. So I did modify a little bit from the sketch, but there's no problems doing that. Anytime you have something that isn't exactly what you want, modifying it a bit is not a problem, and you know, that makes it more your own. So I'm just going to take some more of that gouache, and I think this is a black color. I can't remember exactly what color the name is, but I'm going to try it out on this wood veneer to see if I liked it, but I ended up liking the raw wood veneer better. So I'm actually putting it on the back side just to see and test it first before I just paint the wood veneer, but I thought it blended into the background too much. So I'm going to actually decide not to use that black on the wood veneer, instead just keeping it plain. So I'm just going to wipe it up a little bit so I don't get stuff all over everything, and I'm going to just end up gluing it down using my Scotch Quick Dry in my little fine liner bottle. I love this little bottle. I recommend getting this if you don't have one. It's so nice. It helps getting that glue down without making a humongous mess. And then that's pretty much going to be it for my basic part of the layout. And now the sketch doesn't really have a lot of extra stuff here, but I just kind of thought I needed just a little bit more. I can't just put paper down and be done with it. I need to do just a little bit of embellishing. So I'm going to go through these Dear Lizzie stickers that came in the collection, and they are kind of a pain in the butt to get out. They're like perforated, but they're stickers. I don't know. I had a lot of problems with these. They're not my favorite product. I like what they look like, but they're just not the most easy to use. But it's all good. I got them to work. And nothing it all worked out well without it causing any problem. I was worried I was going to rip the stickers and such, but I didn't. I ended up getting it all apart. So I'm going to glue 2 of these stickers down, one right there and then one in the top section a little bit more. And there's also some epoxy that came in this collection, and I'm going to end up putting that down in a couple different places. I think I put 3 different epoxy circles on the page. One that says You and Me, one that says, I think, Best Day, and then the number 2. And again, I think I've said this in other videos, probably on my channel. I have problems when we have things that come like this where they're just numbers. I never really know what to use them for. So typically if I have 2 people on the page, I use a 2. If I have 3 cats on the page, I use a 3. Just to kind of use up my stash. Otherwise, I don't tend to use the embellishments that have the numbers on them as much. I feel like they have to have some kind of meaning. Sometimes I have a hard time using things that just don't really have any meaning on the page, just maybe it's the right color or something. I don't know. I tend to feel like I need to have some kind of meaning to the page. So as long as I can make something up, I'll end up using it. So here are some of the dimensional stickers that came in the collection, and there I'm going to use 2 hearts, one right there, and then I'm going to use the other one in the bottom section, and then I'm also going to use that blue star. And I'm just trying to make kind of 3 embellishments, so in 3 different locations in the layout. So I used 3 pieces of epoxy, and then I'm using 3 of these dimensional stickers. I didn't use 3 of the flat stickers, but you know, they kind of are the same dimension as the circles, so I didn't feel like I needed to do that. So here is pretty much where I'm ending. I felt like I could have done a lot more, but I thought I'd keep it simple and try to keep it as much to the sketch as possible. So the last thing I'm going to do is just put on some of this Primrose Color Shine. And then I'm going to show you some close-ups. So while I'm doing that, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming over. If you want to, again, join us for our little challenge and do something with the sketch and show us on the Facebook page, please do so. The link is below. If you would like to check out my channel, it's Froggie251. The link is below as well. And make sure you definitely check out Nicole's video. She should have one up to date as well and using the same sketch. So I want to thank you guys so much. I'm so glad you guys are over here. If you have not already subscribed to the Crafty Maven Getaway channel, please do so and give us a thumbs up so we know that you are enjoying the videos. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.